Hello, my name is Faina, and I have dedicated the last 7 years to honing my craft and fine tuning my strategy.
Welcome to Trading in the Zen, where we help traders find their groove. I'm your co-host, Louise Nonweiler, a trading psychologist and multi-award-winning clinical hypnotherapist. Join us weekly as we delve into the trading world, exploring psychology, well-being, health, and mindset. Through expert insight, interviews, and actionable strategies, we help you as traders unlock the mindset needed to navigate markets with confidence and achieve peak performance.
At Trading in a Zen, we believe that there's much more to trading than numbers and probabilities. Like an athlete, a trader should operate in their peak state. Each week, you will have mind-blowing interviews as well as actionable tips and strategies that you can implement in your daily life to become a better trader. Thanks for spending time with us today. Now, let's dive right in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Trading in a Zen. Today, we have someone very special. He's Evan Marks, who is a 25-year veteran of this whole trading business and managing money. Hi, Evan. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Hi, Evan.
So tell us who you are, what you do, what you're about. What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, what I want to be when I grow up, I'm actually doing now. So that's a home run. But I spent 23 years running money, two different firms. After I graduated from University of Pennsylvania, which seems to be an incubator for Wall Street, sucked right in. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where, growing up, I didn't have any money. I didn't even know what Wall Street was. And I had an identical twin brother who got recruited by this guy named Steve Cohen, who's pretty well known nowadays. And he's like, Ev, you got to get into this. They're making a ton of money. It's competitive. We were lacrosse players. I'm like, I'm in. And after that, it was 23 years of what a ride. But it's, it's one of those things where, I've been coaching now. I retired and I sold my partnership in 2017. And I manage my own money, but not as actively as I managed the investors before this. And I've been coaching for 6 years now. And I realized, I had some phenomenal coaches when I was trading. This guy named Ari Kiev, who was probably one of the first guys to really do it, Dr. Kiev. But all the stuff he was doing, he had some phenomenal clients, but it just didn't resonate with me. Like emotions, nothing. Work harder, get bigger. I'm like, okay, I can do that, but something's missing. Mm-hmm. And when I retired in 2017, I had a coach for a while before that, and I had the opportunity to work with her. And it was just a different way to look at mental performance. And I embraced it, and it helped me. But it was interesting, and I was doing well, but I made this decision, like, I've kind of accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. But to be fair, all I ever wanted to do in my life was coach and teach. And I just got sucked into the game. And I'm very grateful that I was sucked in, but now I'm getting to live the life that I've always wanted, actually. No regrets from the past, because man, did I learn a lesson or two or three or four or five or six. But now I get to coach anywhere from, I've coached pit crew teams, professional athletes, C-suite executives, and obviously Wall Street professionals. And I'm having the greatest time of my life right now. Amazing. And I went back to school for this and all this stuff, and I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I totally understand this whole passion for making a difference and educating, because that's just your why, right? You need to have a why. You need to, like, what is it bigger than yourself? Is it, everyone, getting rich is one thing, but when you collectively help other people improve their lives, it is very important. And as we know, trading is a very hard business. It's, despite of what people tell you, and despite of all the, overnight successes or whatever, people present, in your opinion, why is it that not a lot of people succeed in trading?
Well, first of all, trading is an extremely challenging business, right? There's a lot of hard, this is very challenging. Where else in the world, there's a feedback loop constantly going on where you can feel every emotion before 9:45. Right. It's amazing. Right. And, when we coach professional athletes, it's all different arenas. Trading particularly is, and as we know, is the biggest self-development game in the world, where you actually have to really say, is it the market or is it me? Am I projecting onto the market? Am I reliving through the market past experiences? Am I seeking approval because I never got approval as a kid? Am I proving it in the market? Am I trading for the right reason? All this stuff's going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear those stats, 98% of traders don't make money because the market's tough. Bullshit. The reason why people are not successful in this game is because they do not value the importance of the mental game.
Yeah.
It is hands down. I've worked with some of the greatest traders on earth, and these guys, their mental game is incredibly solid. And it's not like it was given to them. They understood the value of it, and they nurtured the crap out of it. And when you nurture something and you can leverage that, that is called an edge.
Perfect.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it's really amazing. What I really like is that you actually have been in the game, because a lot of people are coaching without ever trading and sitting in front of the computer and making a decision to click that button, which is, quite different from the pit, and how everything changes without one little click can change the whole course of your day. And I used to tell my friend, we laughed, we cried. It's like 9:45 and I've already been on both ends of the spectrum. And we actually had a conversation. Yeah, we had a conversation earlier, and the two people that I can say are incredibly successful are those who have mastered discipline. And they do what their plan requires of them to do. They do not deviate, no matter what anyone says, does, or says. They always are focused, and whatever their plan is, they execute without any deviation.
Well, it's interesting. Discipline is self-care, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did Mike
Mm-hmm.
Tyson said? Everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face, and there goes your plan, right?
Right.
Plans are built for certainty, right? But we know in trading, you have to be comfortable with the uncertainty of the market,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
confident in your behavior / decision making, right? That's it right there,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't know what's going to happen, right? But we're always predicting, right? You're predicting what I'm about to say next. That's just how the brains work. If we get to understand how we feel as people, our emotions, and be able to understand that anger and rage and frustration shouldn't be tossed aside. They should be acknowledged. Because the minute we don't acknowledge them, what comes onto the field? Past experiences, anger, rage, and frustration, right? You become reactive. We can go into impulsivity for about 14 years on this one. And now that plan you just had is gone by 9:31. And we're in the terms of, I can't believe I did this again.
Right. Hey, that's how tilts happen. All tilts start with something not going your way. You having a bias. You're trying to continuously prove your bias. It's going against you, and you're unwilling to be nimble and just look at the situation rationally, because now your rational mind is completely hijacked. You cannot make a decision. You're being controlled by the other side of your brain that's in fight or flight. And from that place, there's no way you can make a decision that's good. It's just impossible, right, Louise? Like, from your
decision fatigue.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's interesting. I work with people, and that's why trading is such a different game. Like, the heavy lifting in trading is boring, is patient. I call it aggressive patience. It's acknowledging frustration. Where else can you be exhausted and not even put a trade on? At the end of the day, you're exhausted. How'd you do? I did nothing. I'm exhausted. What do you mean you're exhausted? To feel impulsivity, to acknowledge intuition, to be aggressively patient. I'm exhausted talking about it.
Yeah.
But to really work that and condition that is what that's how you become an elite trader. And if you don't respect that, it's funny when you said, Fiona, about fighting about tilts. Tilts, when tilts happen? At the top. When we don't understand what euphoria feels like. Because euphoria, I got it. I can't do anything wrong. And then all of a sudden it's that first little nick. I got to make that back. Then it's the second nick. Shit. Then panic sets in. Now our decision making gets thrown off. Right? And then boom, 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 boom. If we're able to pick up on that quicker, people always ask me, I really got to focus on intuition. I said, okay. I said, tell me what impulsivity feels like. What do you mean impulsive? I said, when you're impulsive, what does that feel like? Why is that important? I said, imagine if you can take the impulsivity out. Where do you think intuition comes in then? If you take the impulsivity out and recognize FOMO, fear of entry, which, by the way, FOMO is fear of entry. Otherwise, you won't be following me. FOMO, whatever the verb is to that. If you stay on top of that, you got a good chance.
So, Evan,
Really fascinating.
It absolutely
is fascinating.
So, three of the things that I think are most important for traders to have is self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-belief. They are the three selves that I think are the most powerful for traders to have. Self-awareness is vital. So do you feel as a trader, because what we were just talking about, the impulsivity, intuition, do you feel that we almost as traders have to become the observer? So looking from the outside in when we're trading, almost being one step ahead, if you like. Do you think that's important? Do you think that's possible?
I think it's important and it's possible. Yeah. You know, the only way you can observe yourself is by slowing down.
Yeah.
That's it.
Less is more in trading. Less
is more, but that is 100% true, Faina. 100% true. But imagine this. Imagine I'm able to feel frustrated, right? Because you're always going to be. I've been frustrated 4 billion times. Frustrated.
I was frustrated this morning.
I'm frustrated every day, I think, but I don't act on it. You're frustrated. I feel frustrated right now. It's a feeling, right? But all of a sudden, like your fight or flight, like people sit like this, right? All right, I'm frustrated right now. And you just say, okay, verbalize it. Verbalizing it right there takes the intensity down. But by verbalizing, now there's a pause happening, right? So now you give it a little space. And then you become, Louise, like you said, but now you become curious. What's the decision to make here? What am I trying to accomplish? And then you pick your behavior. You've just literally shifted your nervous system. You've given yourself a mental pause. That impulsive behavior that was about to happen at bay. So now consider this. Let's say you do that and you make a decision and it works. Let's think on the other side. Perfect, right? Good trade. Let's say you make no decision and that was the right decision. Terrific. Let's say you impulsed in. You think that's the only bad decision you're about to make? Now, because we impulsed in, we have revenge, we have this. So not only is your mental capital being exhausted, your real capital is being depleted. Just because you didn't take a step back. And as Louise, you said, you didn't observe yourself for a second. Imagine if you have that skill set. Well, if things happen really fast, man, that's not true. You're telling me you can't feel the euphoria? I feel euphoric right now. That's literally a tenth of a second. Watch what happens. It gives you better odds. Now, this is obviously taking into account that you've done your preparation, that you actually are a professional, and you've done your chart work, your fundamentals, whatever news, whatever you do, whatever strategy you have. But if you overlay this emotional, mental techniques, performance on top of it, I'll sit at any table to trade because I know nobody else is doing what I'm doing. And that is my edge.
Right.
And I'm obviously very passionate.
Well, I'm very passionate about it as well because we were discussing recently that trading makes you really, it puts a mirror of who you are as a human being, of your habits, of your decision making. It's such a weird way to self-discovery, but you never stop. I always say you have to really get tired of your shit. When you get tired of your shit, things change because as long as you make excuses, no change will happen. But in terms of when you say recognition, right? You know thyself. Are you clenching your jaw? Are you tapping your foot? I always tell my friend, if I am leaning in so close that my nose is touching the screen,
Fight or flight power.
that is not my setup, because my setup is so clear that it's like, oh, I've seen this before. This is it. But if I am so close that I'm like, kissing the screen, it's not there. I am trying to make
Shoulders are
something
over, your
happen.
muscles are tight, your heart rate.
Right. So I think, do you think if we observed ourselves and journaled and said, okay, my foot's tapping, just literally writing out the way you're behaving and then reading it back, you would actually have a pattern that you follow when you're starting to get triggered? Do you think that would be beneficial?
This is all skills to learn, right? And when we've done the same things over and over again, it's very difficult to build new skills. I think emotional patterns, that's what I do for a living, need to be taken seriously and picked up by traders. So what's a simple way to do that? Very simple. Put a pen in your hand. Anytime you feel your foot moving, make a check mark. Look down, make a check mark. Anytime you feel euphoric, check mark. Panic, check mark. Nervous, check mark. Check mark. What does that do? You'll notice how many goddamn emotions you have in one day. That's one. And two, it makes you pause for a second. Because now it's the beginning of you starting to acknowledge what's going on. Right? There's a spectrum. When you're panicked, horrible time to make a decision. When you're euphoric, horrible time to make a decision. For me, nervousness. That was my moment when I made decisions. My assistant would go to me, he goes, how are you feeling? This is what we did all day long. How do you feel? How do you feel? Where's our conviction level? Where's your conviction level? Constantly, how are you feeling? How are you feeling? I go, I'm very nervous. He goes, you're nervous every day. He goes, but you don't act it. I said, no. I said, nervousness to me is my power because it dials me in. Panic is not my power. Euphoria is not even close to my power. That's my kryptonite, and I know it. But I know nervousness is when I'm dialed in. We all have different feelings, right? You put 7 down from panic to whatever it may be, confusion. You come up with your own words, but you'll notice, like, wait a second, when I am scared actually means not scared, it's being nervous. Like, Brenda, you're gonna have different emotions than I do, but you're like, wait a second, that scared actually is my intuition. The nervous isn't something to me, it's telling me something. So I could take panic and euphoria and say, those are not good times to make a decision, but right here is. And that's really starting to understand who you are.
Yeah. I'm curious, actually, what strategies, techniques, and I guess practices have you used and continue to use to this day for yourself, for peak performance, for self-development, things that have meaning for you? What sort of practices do you do? And do you work with your subconscious mind?
I do it all. I am a human guinea pig, starting with cold exposure, hot exposure. I've been waking up I've been waking up at 4:45 every morning since I've been 20. So I have a solid routine, and I always experiment. I go to bed not very late. I wake up early. I'm a morning guy. That's where my energy flies. I take naps, but you know what happens is, I'm 52. Things change. What works for you guys may not work for me, or maybe not in the right time. Timing in a day, what's my energy levels like? I'm a morning guy. I can wake up and light up a city. I need a nap at 11. Now, not at 12, excuse me. I think it's 11 now as I'm getting older. I start to understand where my energy flows and where I can really utilize it. For some people who like hot and cold exposure, the dopamine levels go too high to go into trading. So they have to do it later on in the day. You have to experiment with that. But Louise, what I do every day is I feel like I started this new coaching business about a month ago. And even though I've been partners in hedge funds and I've invested in companies, this is kind of my own thing right now. Very overwhelming. I know shit about social media. I had a manager. I'd rather swim through a lake of crocodiles than write one thing. Now, that may seem nothing to you guys. To me, frightening. So then I have to say to myself, okay, yeah, man, how do you feel right now? I'm overwhelmed. Okay. What do I need to do right now? All right. Why don't you just do one little thing right now? Reach out to somebody who knows social media, or go and make a comment somewhere. Okay, it's not that bad. So I'm literally every my mental model can be plugged into any situation I'm in, but you have to slow down to speed up. That is the key. I'm not saying slow and steady wins the race. Burn that one. I still don't understand what the hell that means. But you need to slow down. Slow down means being intentional. Louise, being aware. Like all the things, self things that you just discussed is the intentionality of that. And then you start making these small little gains, this momentum. It may be inconsequential to the two of you, but to me, I know it's starting to go now. And once I get that little engine that could, it starts going. So every time I do, I practice what I preach. Even though I've had success in the past, this is new, it's scary to me. Even though I've been coaching for a long time and I have an incredible client list and I have people with me for 5 years, I'm still allowed to be nervous. I'm still allowed to be scared. People may not understand it, but they're not me. They don't have my past experiences, right? They don't have my story. But I have to be willing to recognize that.
Right.
And verbalize it. And give myself permission to feel it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's one of the most important things, to feel it. So many traders want to suppress emotions and be turned into robots. And I'm like I'm not going to go too
Quant
deep
guys
into
can't
that.
even do that. Look at '08. Look at all when the market comes in. Quant guys, there are people writing quant. There are people executing, even though they think it's a computer model, there is people behind it.
Yeah.
'08 was the greatest example. Every quant got murdered because people reacted, right? They freaked out. They panicked.
Yeah.
Psychology is huge in this game.
The market needs emotions. That's what it drives. It's one of the
social experiment.
Yeah.
Well, the market is basically different people on each side seeing something else, right? Because otherwise you wouldn't there have to be opposing opinions. And I think if your trade does not work out, you can just simply say that a bunch of people did not agree with you, and that's okay, right? Because I feel like people make it so if every single trade mattered so heavily, like people attach their self-esteem, their self-worth to it, their everything. And I think when the stakes are so big, you're already coming in with a broken wing. And then from that place, there's no way you're going to make good decisions. You're already dragging. And then you have another end of it where rule following, right? Because we are in front of the computer. And when you don't follow your rules, what is the cost of this? Yes, it's sometimes you're wrong. But what if you're wrong and you did not behave correctly, but you're rewarded, right? So that is even worse, because now you just solidified a really bad habit. So what do you think about let's say if you have a set of rules, right? Let's say I don't trade between 9 and 9:30. Oil opens, let's say at 9:30, right? And I break that rule. Then I cannot trade for the next 2 days, so that there's something on the other side of it. So the next time I go to do that, there's something at stake, and I don't, to wager something for yourself and say, if I break my own rule, this is what I can do. Or you have to sit out the rest of the day. You can't correct your mistake, right? I feel like it's so easy because we're clicking away and there's nothing maybe that'll slow you down. Maybe that'll give you a minute to breathe.
I'm going to be very controversial right now. Ready for this one?
Okay.
I think rules are bullshit, because rules were meant to be broken, right? So now if we know that we're repeating past experiences, we were a bad boy, a bad girl, or we were a good boy, we want to break rules, right? Because there's boundaries, right? There's limitations. So when you see people with sticky notes on their thing and rules and this and that, the sticky notes, they didn't see any of them anyway. You can write all the rules you want. You're never going to look at them. And actually, when you break rules, you make more rules just to break those also. So enough with the rules. I always say, what is your strategy and your objectives? Right? If you make more money at 9:30 till 10:30, right? And you say, but I'm not trading before 9:30. Now you're putting limits on yourself, and unconsciously you're punishing yourself. So now we want to rebel. Fuck that. I'm going to trade anything. So, enough with that.
But statistically, let's say I've done my back testing, which everyone should do. you should not learn how to trade with real money, right? You really never, that's never a good idea. You should do some back testing. And say in my back testing, I know that most of my good trades, let's say I've collected data ad nauseum for a year, I've back tested. Between 10 and 11, best setups happen, right? And then I happen to think that I see something earlier on, but statistically, I know that is not going to be as successful as something later on based on the data that I've collected. And here I am, I'm jumping in because I feel like, oh my God, everyone's making money but me. And then I get a monetary tap on the nose or on the wallet, right? So
let me ask you a question.
Okay.
If my thesis that the rules are bullshit, but I say that reframing is different.
Okay.
So if I say 10 to 11 is where you make your living, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to give you money. I said, so tell me a strategy. What do you do? So I trade around 10 to 11. That's what I do.
That's my sweet spot.
That's it. But what? But sometimes, wait a second, what do you do then? Right? It's one of these things like my business is from 10 to 11. Things happen before sometimes and they work and they don't. You have to accept that. Like acceptance is big. So when you have that impulse to do it, and I'm sure some are going to work sometimes, right? No sting, and that's the world of frustration.
But that's the worst thing ever because you're rewarded for bad behavior.
It's bullshit because you lose money over the course of the period of time, but we don't remember that. That's that whole thing that I'm talking about. Now it's like, you sit back, okay, I want to trade right now. Everybody's making money right now. That's all right. All right. I can feel the frustration. That's why stand-up desks are great. Take a walk back. It's going to last a couple seconds. All right, let me sit back now. It's really that mental training. Because if you give yourself an excuse to trade, you're just going to go back in that familiar loop. Do you know why? Because you don't believe yourself. Right? You set up all these rules, and now you start not believing yourself. So now, actually, as more rules you set up, the more sabotage you can perform.
Absolutely.
No, you agree with that.
Yeah, because and
now we're projecting. Mom, dad, they told me, no, I'm not doing it anyway. Don't think that's not. I mean, that happens. It may, in trading, everything may sound crazy, but it's not. We project onto the market all the time. That's why it's so challenging.
Let's talk about the psychology of money now. The psychology of money. This is, I mean, we could probably speak about this for hours. So
for years.
So working with traders, this is one of the most important things because there's two main reasons traders trade: financial freedom, freedom of time, but they go hand in hand. They're interlinked. So I'm not going to delve too deep into it, but if a person has a limiting belief around money or a negative relationship, money doesn't grow on trees, and we've spoken about this a lot in different podcasts, it will cause self-sabotaging behavior, subconscious patterns. They will continue. In your experience, Evan, what do you feel? I mean, how important do you feel is the psychology of money? And if somebody is struggling with their relationship with money, what would you suggest they do?
Well, this is obviously an extremely important question. But I also think that we need to also consider, why am I trading? Right? And if the reason is just to make a lot of money, you're in the wrong game. There's so much research when we're outcome focused, i.e. results. Our skill set at Harvard, our skill set is significantly diminished. So when we're just thinking results, money, 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 and I'll get to the definition of money in a second, our skill set's diminished, right? Because all we're thinking is about the end, right? And I don't want to use the word process because I hate the word, but the process, right? And it significantly diminishes. Now when we talk about money, I didn't have any money growing up. I had a lot of money growing up. My parents said the Wall Street guys their characters are bad. They're bad people. This is bad. That's bad. I think there's a great book about money. You have to actually, and it's so important because I never did this work on money. And I didn't realize that I didn't put value in it. I didn't give a shit when I was trading, beginning of my career. Because to me, if I made more money, people respected me more. So that means, and I was trying to be validated. So it didn't matter if I made $1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 5, whatever it was, it didn't matter. It wasn't about the money. It was about something that I was missing. It was a void in my life that I thought, and it didn't matter because the same thing happened if I lost. Like, oh, they might think I'm important that I could lose so much money. And that sounds nuts, but it's not. It's tough to answer that question because you really have to figure out who you are and how you were raised. And what does money actually mean to you? Right? Is money to buy you freedom to make choices? Is it to prove yourself to everybody else? Like everybody's definition of money is different, as well as everybody's definition of success is different. So I wish I had a clean answer. And I think if I thought about it, I possibly could, but I think everybody's different. You know, my definition of money is different than your definition of money. My relationship with money is different than both your relationships with money, right? Because I didn't grow up with you guys. I didn't know how you were raised. But what does help is actually having a conversation like this with a client. Tell me about how your parents were with money growing up. What did money mean to you? Right? Well, they said it's rich people are bad people, or this, that don't lose money, or oh, my dad lost his job, we lost the house. If you don't think that comes into trading, he lost the house, I got to be conservative, I can't take risk. Because if I take risk, I may be homeless. And then we start going down these fractals, right? Where even not even putting a trade on is terrifying because of catastrophes involved. You have to work through that. Because those feelings, that behavior no longer suits you, right? It might have been survival for your parents, but it doesn't work for you anymore. I deal with this all day long. Or the father or mother or parents had so much money, didn't mean anything. And there was no, then it was status. So making X doesn't matter because they're a nobody to their parents. Now, this may sound nuts, but if you're not aware of this, you may think you're having a different experience, but you're not. You're reliving the same experiences from childhood over. Don't even talk about relationships. I mean, I think people can understand relationships if they grew up in an abusive house or whatever. They seek what's familiar. This plays out in trading.
Yeah, to me, so money is safety, right? So every time you lose a trade, my safety is jeopardized. And so what I am trying to do when I try to correct it is get my safety back, right? Because I'm immediately, sometimes go back in to regain my safety, right?
What is safety to you, though? Why do you feel that way? What experience in the past makes you feel that way?
I grew up pretty tough and I had to fight for my own survival. And so everything I had was because I made it so. Nothing was given, nothing was offered. There was no safety net. And so
no
whenever
support, no financial support.
No. And so when I feel like the ground starts to shake a little bit, I grab on because now my hypervigilance made me okay. So in trading, that is terrible because you become so that's when you jump out of winning trades because you're so hyper vigilant and you're already in the money. It's working out, it's going your way, but the conversation that I have to suppress is hold on to it.
What you just say?
Hold on to it.
No,
the conversation that
I have to suppress.
Yes,
that is a big one right there. Don't suppress it. That's the whole thing. You have to verbalize that. So I asked you a question, Faina. In those moments, if I said to you, I'd like you to label a feeling, what would that feeling be?
Dread.
Dread of
Dread.
what?
Dread of failure, being unsafe. Dread of like failing. And then that exposes me, and then I'm now unsafe.
Right. So when this happens to you next time, right, and you feel that, right, you're like, ooh, what is that? Oh, that's dread again. Now I want you to verbalize this. Feel dread right now. I want you to say it, verbalize it, push yourself back a little bit, right? Because like you said, sometimes your nose is on the screen. Stand up, open yourself up, right? Move your nervous system. All right, I feel dread right now. Right? It's a feeling, right? Because this is just our operating system going. Our job is to switch your operating system and leverage it. All right, I feel dread. Okay. Mental space. Okay, what's the decision I need to make here right now? What am I trying to accomplish? And then pick your behavior. And keep doing it. Every time you have a feeling, oh, I feel amazing. All right. What should I be doing right now? You start literally verbalizing, and now I'm onto the screen like a trader again. I'm so passionate. Watch what happens. You'll send me a text whenever and say, you know what, Ev, I've been doing this. Holy shit. It sounds so simple, but me acknowledging what you're basically doing. And Louise, you'll admit, we're bringing the unconscious conscious. And now with that consciousness, we're choosing how to behave. Now, will that take your edge away? No. But it'll give you more clarity on what to do. I mean, it's a game changer. And it sounds so ridiculous. Right? But then, it's also important, like, obviously you're not my client, but to understand what dread is and where's that coming from, right? Because, in order to, we want to unravel that, as kids, we can't put words to those feelings, right? We're told not to, don't worry about that. Don't feel sad. Don't do this. Don't be angry. Wrong. For kids, you say, well, tell me why you're angry. You're entitled to be angry. Give them permission to feel. Because adults now, we didn't know how to put words to those feelings. We don't know how to use them. And what do? We act out in familiar patterns from the past.
Absolutely.
Yes, I become defiant. So my defiance.
I don't even know you, and I can see that, right? Because of how you were raised, though. But you know what, though, Faina, that's how you survived. You had to be defiant. You had to do things on your own, right? Amen. However, it doesn't mean you need to be. It doesn't mean that you need to be defiant now. You're able consciously to change your operating system that serves you better today. And that is what bringing unconscious to conscious is. It gives me chills when I talk about this shit. Because I've lived it, and it's so important. Like, defiance, served you, but it may not be serving you anymore. I mean, I don't know. This is your experience, not mine.
It's more harmful than it is helpful, because defiance is an act of rebellion, and an act of rebellion is not clear thinking, and a clear thinking leads to terrible trading decisions. I mean, knowing it, and just because I conceptualize it and I understand it, and I think a lot of people conceptualize, oh, I am behaving in ways that no longer serve me, but I always talk to Louise about it, and I'm like, how do I merge the understanding and action, right? Because conceptually understanding and acting from a different place, it's challenging, this kind of self-discovery. Who would think that trading would bring about, because that's probably how I live life in general, right? Defiance.
I want to throw something at you right now. And a client said to me this years ago, and I always used to say this, and boy, was I wrong. There is no peace in trading. And he said to me, really? So we had a conversation, and this guy's the most amazing guy. He goes, how about there could be harmony? I go, there's absolutely true, there could be harmony.
Yeah.
And literally, when he said that, my narrative switched. I said, wait a second, there could be harmony, right? That means, Faina, you have a lot. I mean, I don't know you, but I can feel you through the screen. You have a lot of passion, a lot of fire. You don't want to lose that. but we want to use that energy that's serving you better. That's the key. Use it, right? Make decisions that serve you better today. And that's just being more conscious. Like intellectually, we know we shouldn't have the cake if we got to lose weight. No shit. We do it anyway, right? There's an emotional tie to that cake, that's survival, that's comfort, even though we know we don't want to do it. It really takes these small, conscious, sometimes it feels inconsequential steps. And it goes back to your question in the beginning. Like, when do you see it connect? It's these little things. And all of a sudden, like, you look back, like, I don't even do that anymore. Like, what happened? It was really just this little bits of momentum. And listen, I'm not going to go crazy on the coaching career, but I think everybody should have a coach, right?
Okay.
I think they should have somebody they trust, that's not judgmental, that's got their backs. I'm not a motivational guy. I am not an accountability guy, because I want you to be accountable. But to have somebody, right? It's a human need to feel important, to feel heard, and to feel supported. It's human need. And some of us never had that. Some of us never been validated. And it, you know, I wasn't an English major, but that sucks. You know, it just sucks. We all need it, though. It's important.
Yeah. And I think in life, you know, we need to be our biggest supporter, you know, and if that means at times, you know, some of the best times in my life is when I've hit dark times, like, and we've all been through dark times. At the time, it didn't feel great, but you know what? It was unbelievable transformation. And I look back now and it made me who I am today. And I got through those dark times, and like we all have. And I think really we need to be our biggest support. We need to be kind to ourselves, but at the same time, find that fine balance between kind and passionate and driving ourselves forward. Keep growing and evolving.
You nailed it just now. Kindness and forgiveness sometimes feels like an excuse. But if you put action with that and effort, it feels like a solution and progress. It's a big thing, right? What they say, knowledge without action is bupka. It's nothing. You can be smartest guy, you don't do anything with it. Same thing with forgiveness, kindness. It takes action, a little bit of effort.
Hey, I think it's also the distinction between kindness to yourself and excuses that are unproductive to, you know, like, I can make an excuse to not do the things that I should be doing because it feels kind, like, to yourself. And then that not killing your drive, right? What Louise was saying before, because there has to something that propels you forward. And if my kindness to myself is like, well, I don't feel like doing it today, I'm going to be kind to myself and I'm just not going to do it today, as opposed to get off your ass and get on that bike because you said you would, because this is good for you, right? So I can kind myself into a nap and not do what I love naps. This is just a reference, but you know what I'm saying? It's excuses versus like.
I'm going to throw a line at you. Procrastination is not that lack of effort. It is actually the fear of a discomfort of a feeling that doesn't motivate, that doesn't enable us to make effort, cause effort. I mean, that's the end of that up. But literally, procrastination is not the lack of effort. It is the fear of the future feeling of discomfort. Now you can go whatever you want, right? But that's what's driving that. It comes back to emotions.
Yeah.
If you don't acknowledge them, you're behind the eight ball. They're just feelings. We all got them. I felt like a loser 2 weeks ago, and there's no reason I should feel like a loser. My wife's like, "How you feel?" I said, "I feel like a loser today." She goes, "We're not doing this again, are we?"
You're like, "I'm a trader. I do this every day." Yeah, I'm a trader. So if a trader has a losing streak, how do you not feel like a loser? Because you're not only feeling like a loser, but there's actual material, physical evidence of losing.
Well, you know, Yes. I felt like a loser 9 billion times.
Mhm.
The thing is, you could feel like a loser, but you can't act like a loser, right? And the question is, how do you do that, right? You're
Mhm.
allowed to feel whatever you want. But when you talk about going like on like a loser, losing, there's a
Mhm.
tech, there's, it's already taking 2 steps back, but not going in reverse. And you got to catch that, obviously, because that's revenge,
Mhm.
get back. I mean, that's just a whole cluster of emotions and behaviors that are completely unconscious going on there, right? And as a
Mhm.
trading coach, those are one of the things we really watch for, right?
Mhm.
But all right, let's say we go in a tailspin, right? Which can be prevented, by the way, and you feel like a loser. All right, you know what you say? I feel like a loser, right? All right, I'm allowed to feel like a loser. I just dropped X amount of dollars. What do I need to do right now? Do I need to go to the gym? I'm not going with Johnny out for a beer right now. I need to start making better decisions and having better control over my behavior. And that's a conscious decision.
Mhm.
But it really starts with acknowledging what the hell is going on. I know you don't want to feel like a loser, no shit. But that's how you feel right now. So now
Mhm.
you can numb it, you can not accept it. But I'll tell you this much, if you don't accept it, it's coming back. And not even coming back, it's going to pick up steam.
Mhm.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
then when that gets on the field, you don't want
Right.
that. Right? And listen, we all know this. I mean, you can feel it as I say it, because we've been there. And it's a horrible, horrible feeling when you feel completely out of control. It is demeaning, minimalized. Like you just feel like, who am I? Why did I just do that?
Yep.
And it
Again.
and it and it sucks. Can it be prevented? 100%. Is it perfect? No. But we pick up on it. It's so interesting. I can go on and on. When I coached Jimmy Johnson, his pick routines, I had such a great conversation. He talked about using his gears, like how these young kids go around the turn and they're in fifth gear, but he knows how to use fifth gear, second gear, first gear, go back into fifth. He's so conscious of how his engine runs, right? For traders, we really have to understand that when we're in neutral, that's still gaining confidence because we made a choice to do it,
Mhm.
right? Because if you're in fifth gear and you make a line and it was great and you're able to go into second gear, dopamine's kicking. We haven't even talked about dopamine or the transmitters and the hormones and the chemicals. Throw that into the mix. But to understand how to reset, get up, move your system, not your physical system, your body, and get into second gear, first gear, know and have the confidence you can go back into fifth. That's huge also. But it comes
Mhm.
back to reading yourself,
Mm.
understanding what you're feeling. See where it keeps going back to the same thing?
Yeah. Feelings, emotions, doesn't it?
And
Absolutely.
acknowledging them. I'm
Yeah,
very passionate about this stuff.
we can see.
Oh yeah.
It's we could speak for hours and we'd love to have you back on the show, Evan, but
I would love to.
we're coming to the end. I have a question for you. And I
Shoot.
don't think I've ever asked anybody on the show this question. If you could say one thing or ask one thing to your younger self, what would it be?
It's all right to be sad.
Mm,
And if you feel sad, express it. It's all right to be angry. Express it. It's not a weakness.
no.
I think that would have, I don't know what my world would look like now, right? I think we all have regrets, but I think I've learned a lot from them. But as a kid who had cataracts when he was 2, my dad was homeless, older brother was handicapped. But to actually be able to express the pain, the sadness, I blew my knees out twice when I was at Penn, couldn't play lacrosse. That was a lot of struggle. And to understand that don't minimize your own pain just because other people may have it worse. Or, I mean, obviously there's bigger atrocities in this world, but don't minimize your feelings. They're real. It's so important to acknowledge them, to verbalize them, and let them out. I do it with my kids now because I know I didn't do it. And still some of those feelings are tough to get to. So if I could look back, I would say, Ev, say how you feel, please. It's going to help you. And to have somebody to talk to. I don't know if that's what you were looking for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because trading is such a lonely sport. You know, it's you against you.
100%.
And you're here when you're happy, and you're here when you're having a shit day, and you're here when you're having a string of shit days. And so it is such a, it's hard to explain to someone how in the course of a day, you've experienced such deep rooted emotions not leaving your chair. And finding maybe people who understand it, because it's hard to understand. But like, such a big deal, you know, you have tomorrow, you can click again, so what, it didn't work out. And you're like, you don't understand the amount of, especially if you're taking this seriously, and if you're putting in the work and you're doing the right thing, and if you doing your prep, if you really spending the time and because I was saying that I only trade maybe 30 minutes a day. I spend countless hours redefining, relearning, reanalyzing, revisiting, kind of continuing the education process, right? If you do all of that and then it amounts to like a financial loss, it is very hard to explain to someone how your brain is like, you know, I've done everything, you know, and I imagine that like athletes, you know, I used to be an athlete and everything, when you train really hard and you still lose, it's the only thing that I can.
That's why this game is different, Faina.
It's why it's hard to
The heavy
explain.
lifting doesn't equate to profits. The heavy
Right.
lifting actually is in the mental process of how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because if you don't participate in a trade and it was a loser, you save mental capital and financial capital. Right? You know, I always say if you take out 25% of your worst losers that were impulsive, you're in a pretty good spot. And I'm talking about the ones that you know were impulsive, that were panicking for it. Not the ones that were, I don't know, you know, sometimes it's like,
But it is a probability game. It's a probability. Sometimes it works in your, it is a probability game.
You better know what you're feeling, what is driving your behavior. And if you think what we're discussing today is shit, give me your money, right? I'll hold it for you. And when you realize, I'll give it back to you. That's how important this stuff is. Hands down.
Yes.
One-on-one. If you know, the worst thing is when people make money immediately. Right? I'm like, you know.
False sense of confidence.
No, it's really you know, and I'll leave it at this. This is a performance game. How you sleep is important. How you eat is important. You think you want to drink after and go into trading? Your risk decision gets shot. If you don't think this is a performance game and you're an athlete in this game, because you are sadly mistaken. You know, even if you're working 30 minutes a day, and for a lot of people, their parents work 9 to 5, and they like, I'm only working 30 minutes. I'm not really working. The intensity in 1 hour of trading, there's been studies compared to like a 5-day work week. That's how many decisions you're going on. That's the units of energy you're burning.
Yeah. Trading trading needs to be respected. It needs to be treated as a business. You need to be in shape as best as possible, mentally, physically, emotional. 100%. And you need to invest in yourself constantly to be almost, you know, we can't always be at our highest peak performance. We're human.
And by the way, it's not how many courses you read and learn. If you don't think the mental and physical aspect of this game is important, I don't care how many conferences you go to, how many trading books you read, you know, what is that, analysis paralysis? You could keep doing that, you know, what they call like an educated derelict. If you don't think that the physical, mental side of this game is important, like I said, give me your money. I'll take the other side of every trade all day long. How about this one? I'm sitting at your table.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree. These are some really important points you're making. I really hope you come back, because there's so much more that we haven't
Just
even
scratching the
touched
surface.
upon,
Yeah.
because this is going to help a lot of people approach this in a way, with understanding and respect to the risk that trading is, because people don't speak enough, and I always speak about it, the risk of trading, because this is you can financially destroy yourself in a record time, unlike anything else, if you approach this. And I don't think now that there's like that many professions where you can come in and in one day, like in an hour, 30 minutes or 5 minutes, destroy your whole life's
and not even
work.
know you're there. That's how numbing it is. Like, you just had like a blackout. You're like, I can't believe I just did that. And lose total
I know
control.
so many people.
But there's so
And you
much
don't think
I
that stuff
destroyed
is
everything.
important?
Yeah. There's so much more to this. I mean, this is another episode in itself. I mean, traders who have lost relationships, marriages, their health has suffered. I mean, the list is endless. Obviously,
They
financial, but
repeat past experiences, and it's very tough. And you have to find somebody that you can talk to about this. Unravel.
absolutely. Yeah.
Because you are repeating and repeating, and then the brain's predicting, but it's predicting from the past, right? So it's survival. You need somebody in your corner to help you, one, untangle this, build a foundation, a new operating system that serves you, and then leverage it. And if you think this happens in 1 month, good luck.
Yeah.
No, because you have to change your whole operating system and your belief system.
It could start today.
Yes. And I'm going to end the show. And if there's any of our listeners out there and they're having a tough time, stop for a second, take a breath, find someone who can support you in this, and then revisit. Because from the place you are in now, it's going to be really hard to get to where you want to be. You got to pause. You got to take a breath, take a pause. And the market is not going anywhere. It's going to be there tomorrow, but your money is. So you have to take a breath.
Protect your mental capital, you are pretty much fucked. I'll just say it right there. You're done.
Our happiness,
How
health.
you like that as an end of the show?
but you know what? Not enough people tell the truth. That is the hard truth. That is the truth. The truth is that you need to stop. You do. You need to stop, take a breath, and revisit, create a new system and support system, and then come back to it.
And when you're doing well, double down on this. Because you may think you don't deserve it unconsciously. You may think you got it. All that stuff. When you're doing well, you better do this double. Right? Because in panic, everybody journals. In panic, everybody gets coaches. In panic, everybody's, I'll never do this again.
Good point.
When things are going well, you better double down.
Wise words.
Right, Louise? They come to you and say, please make me a machine, turn off my subconscious, hypnotize me, and make me not be me.
Thing.
And
I don't
but when they're winning,
no. I don't believe in that. We're emotional beings. Absolutely not. It's about how we manage our internal state.
100%. Use it. What you got, use it.
We're powerful.
That intensity.
We are powerful, and we haven't even tapped into 9%, 10% of what we can achieve. I think we're going that way. I think we're ascending. But I think, you know what, we've only just touched the surface as humans. And I think when we actually tune into who we are and how powerful we are, we can move mountains. So,
and I also think mental health, there was a materialistic wealth movement that's been around forever, but there's a holistic wealth movement going around where people like mental health is so important. It could have been Simone Biles, it was COVID, it was all these things. A couple of professional athletes came out and said these things. Take your mental health serious. Take your thoughts and emotions serious. Not to the grave, but use them. Embrace them and choose what you want to do with them. It's a part of the human experience. Have harmony. Work with it. Don't play tug of war. Don't push it away. It's too much energy. Use it. Come on, little Evan. Let's go. Oh, you're not feeling well. Come with me.
Do you know,
I
I think
see.
if we were in the same room, we'd probably have a group hug now.
But it's the power, though. It's so true, though.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if I could say one in parting words, your mental health is important, right? Your mental capital, and since we're talking trading in the Zen, which is pretty dead on, your mental capital is important, and it has to be nurtured. It has to be not taken for granted. However, if you do those things, you can take advantage of it. And that's the greatest thing, right? Don't take for granted the work you do, but you're able to take advantage of it. And that's called leverage.
I love that. Thank you.
Amen, sisters.
Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Evan. We'd love to have you back, wouldn't we, Hyena?
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I don't know if you're going to say it, but I've been told to say this, that my team developed a web page for this podcast. So it's M1 Performance Group .com/Zen.
Huh.
So there I have something. I actually have a webinar. It took me like a long time to make because I'm not good at this stuff. It's called the M1 Mental Model. So it's like a 6-7 minute, but I've actually what we discussed here a little bit today.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple coaching questions. And actually, if you want to reach out to me and you want to take this shit seriously, give me a call, right? This is what we do. And there's a discovery, like a Calendly thing or something like that, where you can make an appointment to talk to me.
And we're going to put everything in our descriptions on all the platforms. So all of your social media, obviously your website, M1 Performance, and any kind of promotions you've got going on. We're going to add all the links to every platform.
Because this is incredibly valuable. And you know what? I take my shit seriously. So when this is over, I would like to schedule a coaching session because I take my shit seriously. And no matter how well I do, I take it seriously.
It's a challenging business. But if you take this seriously, it's a great business, by the way.
Right. Oh yeah.
Because I think
did pretty well at it, So
not everyone resonates with everyone, but I think what you're saying makes sense to me. So everyone, thank you for listening, and we're gonna go now, so I can go take my shit seriously.
Good. That was awesome. And I hope to see you guys again.
Yeah, and we'll have you back on, Evan. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, listeners.
Thank you.
See you again.
Bye, guys.
See you soon.
Bye.
If you would like to be a guest on the show, then please contact us at info@tradinginthezen@gmail.com. If you're a trader who is struggling with their psychology, then please go to www.hypnosisfortraders.co.uk. There are various trading psychology packages and programs that will transform you as a trader. For one-to-one trading strategy mentoring sessions with Hyena, please contact her below. Her details are in the description. Thank you.